Welcome back to Spike Power of Wrestling, the local to global save on Total Extreme Wrestling 9. My name is Anders, and in today's episode we've got some massive debuts and a brand new world champion starting his reign after our pay-per-view at the end of last episode. Welcome back. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the Patreon as well whilst you are here. As mentioned, it's local to global. It's the 1992 database, and we are now in August of 1998. So this has been a long old save. I think this is episode number 43, if my correct counting is correct. As mentioned, big debuts tonight, starting on our first TV taping of the video. For those who are not familiar with the save, we go through about a month in a video where we go through all the TV tapings and end with a pay-per-view. And to give you a bit of a scene setting, this is our current championship situation. Our World Heavyweight Champion is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He defeated Goliath, otherwise known as the Big Show or the Giant, at the pay-per-view on the end of the last episode. So Steamboat is now 7 days into his reign. We also debuted a brand new championship, the International Championship, which is sort of our mid-card title. It's currently held by our first ever champion, Big Bad Above Average Joe Kazana. He is the first champion who won a three-way match at the pay-per-view as well. The pay-per-view being Endgame in the beginning of August at the end of the last episode. Also, we have our Junior Heavyweight Championship currently held by Steven Regal. He's now 105 days into his reign. Won it back in May, defeating Perry Saturn. Yes, both men are 220 pounds. So they are qualifying for the Junior Heavyweight title. Then we have our Tag Team Championships, which is currently held by Kerry Von Erich and Davey Boy Smith. They're 42 days into their reign. They won back at our July pay-per-view, so just over a month ago now. And then finally, our television champion is Bill Goldberg, who has been champion since the beginning of May. He has not yet been defeated since joining the company quite a while ago now. I'm not sure how many matches he's had since joining us, but we'll check. Overall, he's had 33 matches in all situations. In fact, all of those. I think all of those defeats were in WCW. So for a time, he was in WCW and Spike Power Wrestling. But if we filter here, there we go. 31 wins, 0 losses since joining the company back in July of 1997. He's our TV champ. That's the championship situation. We have Unleashed is our weekly TV show every single Friday. Our pay-per-views are the first Friday of the month. So our next pay-per-view, Hostile Territory, will be at the beginning of September. That will be the end of this video. We've also debuted a B show called Rush, which we film every fourth Tuesday, I believe. So just basically to get people some more in-ring action. Right, it's time for Unleashed, and we haven't fulfilled our match aim requirement, so let's just drop a quick storytelling match aim in there. Let's go with a creative finish as well for the main event, because that's a lot of the time I forget to do creative finishes. So let's just see if we've got a good likely to succeed one. Yeah, we'll go with that one. We'll add that in there for our main event. Right, let's go. The 181st episode of Unleashed, live on MTV, and we're in the Wisconsin Center Arena for 10,500 people, and we start the show with the much anticipated debut of the Nature Boy. Ric Flair hits all the highlights: oldest ride, longest line, dirtiest player in the game, limousine riding, jet flying, all of that stuff, several woos. And Flair has been watching SPW from afar, and he's ready to become a 12-time World Heavyweight Champion. Ricky Steamboat can bask in his glory for a little while, and he knows that Scott Steiner's lined himself up, but the Nature Boy's resume speaks for itself, and when the time comes, Ric Flair will be there. 88 for his promo is good. Possibly expecting in the 90s, but still a really good start to the show from Ric Flair. He will be getting himself more involved as the weeks go on. Next up, our opening contest sees tag team titles defended as Davey Boy and Kerry Von Erich defeat the above average team, Paul Levesque and Angus King. So that's Triple H and Kane, for those who are not familiar. Davey Boy gets the victory, submitting somehow Angus King. In terms of the in-ring performance, Davey Boy got a 80, Angus King was down at 32, Kerry at 62, Paul Levesque at 52. Good chemistry and tag team specialisms for the champions, and they retain 71 for the match rating. A really good start to proceedings. We move on to a promo from Goliath, and he was very poor when trying to improvise his dialogue, for a shame. He's normally quite good, and he foreshadowed a potential face turn during the segment. He was humbled after his defeat and loss of the World Championship last week. Sometimes a man needs to suffer a setback in order to better himself. Ricky Steamboat was the better man at Endgame, but that was just a battle. The war is much longer, and this giant will not be down for long. Really good still at 74, even though he struggled without a script to follow. Good job though for him, and then he gets back in the ring straight away and defeats Scott Armstrong and gets a 78 rating. His in-ring performance is now in the mid-70s again, foreshadowing that face turn. We'll see how long it takes until we do turn him face, because, well, what we're going to do with him as a heel now is beat all the top faces, so let's flick him over and see how he gets on as a face. It's Big Show, so he's going to turn every other week anyway. Moving on to our next contest, and the first defense of the International Championship, and it's a little bit of a dud, relatively speaking. Joe Kazana defeats Dave Finlay. 50 for this one. Joe Kazana's in-ring performance down at 48. Maybe the Kazana push should slowly start to fade out. Not the best. But it's a new championship, so we've got to start somewhere, and where better than the above-average Big Bad Joe Kazana, the comment section's favourite heel and jobber. Anyway, he defeats Dave Finlay with a victory there. We move on to see Mark Merrow defeating Christian Cage with a TKO in our next contest. He gets a good victory, 79 rating. Both men put in some good performances. Merrow once again 73 in a nice high range there. But his night isn't over, because he may be victorious. He has his arm raised, but he's blindsided by an unknown man, and that man turns out to be a debuting Larry Zbyszko. The living legend drops Merrow with a swinging neckbreaker and locks in a chokehold. But Rob Van Dam returns and saves the day. The chair-wielding best damn wrestler sends Zbyszko hightailing it from the ring. Zbyszko makes his debut. Let's handle those changes and let's turn Van Dam face. It's a shock, apparently. We haven't done that many shock turns, have we? Maybe we have. Suffered as a result. Didn't go down particularly well. Never mind. He's a face now. It's a shame. But we're going to build Goliath's turn up a little bit longer, so let's make sure we don't get that same penalty next time. 84, though, is a good angle rating, and that's not the end of the night, as the proposed championship celebration for Ricky Steamboat is cut short before it even really begins. Scott Steiner storms the ring and ruins everything. Steiner lays Steamboat out with a Steiner screwdriver and grabs the world title belt. He screams that hostile territory is just 21 days away, and so is the end of the Dragon. And the Dragon is carted out, and Stein is in action in the main event. That's the 92. And what a main event it is. The creative finish was a success. Scott Steiner was an absolute monster in the ring. Gets a 94 for his in-ring performance. His opponent, Tatsumi Fujinami, holds up a reasonably well side of the bargain. Gets a 66. But the match rating gets 95, which is a phenomenally good way to close the show, and that is going to give us a great show rating. A 92 for the TV show is phenomenally good. Steiner, he needs to get himself World Championship title belt after performances like that. We've gained popularity in lots of places, made a load of money on the show. We're making money hand over fist this month. Hopefully that continues. Let's look at those popularity gains all across the US. We're up to 82 in the southeast and the tri-state now, 79 in several regions. We are definitely big now. Up to 73 in Alberta, a couple of more gains in the UK. Japan's going nicely, Europe's moving up nicely as well. It's all coming up well. We just need to get our coverage in Mexico sorted, our coverage in India sorted, then get Australia covered, and we can start our assault on the rest of the globe. We did do a little bit of looking around, and there's only a couple of regions now where we're smaller than WCW. We are definitely bigger than they. They've stopped the rot though in the US. They've sort of settled around 65, 66 popularity points. They were in the high 70s when JBL took over. Yep, Bradshaw. He's the new WCW owner as of about a year ago now. Obviously, he was in our undercard a long time ago, was Justin Hawke, but he's the owner there, and it's been a bit downhill ever since. We took their world champion, among other stars, Larry Zbyszko being the latest one to leave. Obviously, Ric Flair's just debuted. He came from the WWF. Hulk Hogan's contract is up soon, but I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to make an offer for him. Jacques Rougeau is the WCW champion right now, and his contract is currently up. Do we just steal another WCW champion? I've not really got much in the way of thoughts of how to book Jacques Rougeau and where we'd even put him on the card, but we could just do it to screw over WCW again. I'll think about that one at another point. In terms of the news, we have Dusty Rhodes has lost weight. He's dropped down to 275. He's gone from obese to bulky. So well done to him. He was one of the many people we asked to sort their situation out. We've also got, I'll double check that in a second and show you that. But wow, look at that, 6 million viewers. Now we've got coverage in Canada in a better network. That is coming along amazingly. The one other point I did want to mention was Scott Hall is now not a drinker. We spoke to him, asked him to stop drinking. He said he'd try. No, it's not Scott Hall. No, Scott Hall is still a drinker and still a drug user. It wasn't Scott Hall who said he'd stop. He said he couldn't. But it was Ric Flair who said he would stop, and he did. So now Ric Flair is not drinking or using drugs. We've turned it around. Sorry, I got confused by my drug-addled, drink-addled superstars. It's Ric Flair who has decided to stop drinking and taking drugs. So that's going to help him slow down that decline as he's getting close to a stamina threshold, which is going to mean he's not going to be able to go for more than 10 minutes. Still, he's making his debut, got great popularity, excellent stuff. Let's have a quick look around at some other popularity for our promotion. Let's just have a look at our stars at the moment. So Davey Boy Smith's up there at 73. Goliath got him up to 80 as he was world champion. So that progression there from when we started pushing him after we signed him full-time from WCW back in the 22s. He's now one of our top stars. We're going to have a video about that. It's either just gone out or about to go out, depending on when this gets published. Mark Merrow's still up there in the high 70s. Raven is in the mid-80s in lots of regions. Flair, obviously 93. Steamboat, not quite as over as Raven currently, but he's back up into the 80s after a little bit of a blip when he lost a couple of matches. RVD's back in the 72s, and there is Scott Steiner. He is getting bigger and bigger and bigger since joining us, and he will soon be our world champion. You can guarantee it with how much of fantastic in-ring work he is doing right now. In terms of best matches, that one against Fujinami is the second best match ever in our company. The best match by someone not named Ricky Steamboat. It's just Steamboat just fills up the top matches, so we need to have a Steamboat Steiner match because it's almost guaranteed to be match of the year. Anyway, that will be coming at Hostile Territory in 20 days time. Is there anything else you want to quickly cover whilst we are here? A quick flick through. I think we already covered the size gains in every region. For those who are not regular viewers, the Mexican target we're reaching for is 40 in 2 regions to get onto a broadcasting deal. So we're close to that. We're at 36 now. That has been slowly tracking up every single month. We've started pushing for it over the last year. We are now gaining. We're at the point where it should be in 3 or 4 months we'll get a TV deal there. We've recently started doing the same for India. If we flick all the way down to India here, we were at 3 for a long time, and then we started holding a few shows in India. We're up to 8 now, so hopefully that'll be 1 or 2 more months and we can get to 10 in 3 regions is what we need to get coverage in India, and then that will start taking care of itself. And then once we've got India sorted and Mexico sorted, we'll then look at what we need in Australia or New Zealand and see what we need to get some coverage there. And then we'll have coverage all around the world. And speaking of coverage, this is the current map for events. We are big coverage in lots of places, very big in Japan and certain regions of the UK. Europe's medium, big, all over the place basically. TV wise, we have got huge coverage in US and Canada now for our B show. That's because our A show is still being shown in different broadcasters. They're both big for UK, for Canada and the US. But we'll get that sorted in early 1999 when our broadcasting deal ends. Right, that's enough of the first part of this video. It's a slightly shorter month, so we've got 2 more Unleashed and then the Unleashed Hostile Territory doubleheader at the beginning of September. We've also got the Rush TV taping here, which we'll do a bit of a recap of when we get through the next Unleashed taping as well. But until then, stay tuned, make sure you like the video, and we'll be jumping forward a week now for our next Unleashed episode. Okay then, back for Unleashed, and we're ready to go. We once again start the show with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and he is looking for his first opponent here in SPW, and Flair talks about all the great talent in the back, but none of them could even lace up his boots. By the end of the night, Flair will make it known exactly who is at the front of that line. Crowd loved it. Ric Flair, obviously being Ric Flair. 92 for the promo, getting better at his gimmick, and the angle gives the show a strong start. 9,300 in attendance at the Omaha Civic Auditorium, and we move on. Who is Flair going to target? That's the big question. We move on to our opening contest, which sees Bill Goldberg face Don Callis. And obviously, Goldberg wins. Spear, 951. Defense number 15 of the World TV Championship. Goldberg's undefeated streak continues, and this gets a 67. Goldberg with a 65. Callis does well to job. He's not on commentary, obviously, for this match. Scott Hall is, and we find out why after the match. Scott Hall and Jake Roberts storm the ring after Goldberg's handed his world title. The former tag champs beat him down 2-on-1 and let him know that they are next. Looks like the TV champ has a gauntlet to run with these 2 legends. 77, some use for Roberts and Hall at the moment to just give Goldberg something to do as well and get him a little bit more over. Lovely stuff. Moving on to our next contest, which sees Mark Mero defeating Terry Funk. Obviously, last week, Mero was attacked by Larry Zbyszko, but he's no longer in the sights of Zbyszko because of RVD, but he is in the sights of somebody who we'll find out after we have a quick look at the match rating, which gets an 80. Great stuff from Mero. Funk still ticking along nicely as that upper card guy who can just be relied on to put in a good match. 80 rating for the match, and afterwards Raven saunters down to the ring, sarcastically applauding Mero's victory. But as he starts talking, it's clear that Mero isn't his mission. He talks about Mero's wife, Sable, and the lust in her eyes whenever she is at ringside, and that lust isn't directed at her husband. Mero holds his wife back as Raven turns and walks away, laughing to himself. We moved on to Deadly Sin number 2. 70, a little bit downed because of Sable, I think, in this one, but Mero and Raven did well. Raven came across really well, got a 70 for rating for this one. Yes, we are doing a 7 Deadly Sins gimmick with Raven because it's a Raven thing, apparently. Good stuff. Move on next up to a tag team title match as the Colossal Tribe upset Davey Boy and Kerry Von Erich after interference from Ric Flair. Kerry was the weak link here. Everyone else put in a really stonking good performance. 78 from Davey, 74 from Samoa, and 78 from Kakina. Kerry down at 64 is apparently a weak link. But Ric Flair's interference is enough to give the Colossal Tribe the tag team titles. The Throne of Savagery have got the titles once again, and this gets an 83 rating. Excellent stuff. The titles are off the tag champs, and we look like we know who Flair's target is. It's Davey Boy Smith. Running a leg drop from Kakina is enough to get the job done after that interference. And then we hear from Scott Steiner, and White Thunder's in the ring ahead of tonight's main event. He tells the fans that there ain't nothing finer than Scott Steiner, and talks about how in just 2 weeks he'll be wearing a world championship around his waist once again. He tells Larry Zbyszko not to get in his way tonight and let White Thunder lead them to victory. So White Thunder, Scott Steiner teaming with Larry Zbyszko in tonight's main event, and a lovely angle rating of a 91 there. Great stuff from Steiner. Main event time. It's Steiner and Zbyszko taking on Steamboat and Van Dam. Steiner pins Van Dam, who's back and now a face after a Frankensteiner. Larry was the weak link. He put in a 73. How can you call someone who puts in a 73 the weak link? RVD 83. He's not seeing any effects from his injury. Steamboat 90. Steiner 94. Overall, we get an 88 rating, though, for the match. Good stuff to close us out. Gives us an 88 overall. If we hadn't flicked down the requirements in Canada, we still would have missed them because we needed 89. So I'm glad we did that after the last episode. 92, 91 for the two angles. Nothing. That's a good show. That is a really good show all over. Finish it off there. Let's have a look. Finance-wise, made a load of money. We are surprisingly ticking close to getting back into the green after being in the red for so long. But we'll see. Popularity-wise, continuing to grow. We were in the Midwest, I think, tonight, and we're up to 82 now in the Mid-South, which is matching the Southeast and the Tri-State. We are just getting so good in terms of popularity. Canada's going up as well. UK getting a couple of boosts. Europe getting a bit of boost as well. Everywhere generally being pretty good. That's that business. Right, we're going to have a look at our events now because there's lots of comments after our previous episode where we're talking about different names for the pay-per-views. We're going to look at those. I think we're also going to shift our pay-per-views from Friday to Saturday. That's big. Basically, I think the extra revenue we're going to make from running an extra show should outweigh the cost, if that makes sense. So by having we normally have the pay-per-view straight after the TV on the Friday. That gives us one show's worth of revenue, I reckon. And someone very, very cleverly pointed out in the comments, I think on the last video or the one before, that we should split them and just see. I reckon it's going to make us more money by doing it. Obviously, in the past, we had them on the same night to avoid clashes with other promotion shows when we had more people working elsewhere. That's not so much of an issue anymore. Kakina, who was one of those people, is now about to sign a written contract again. So yes, he's extending his deal. News-wise, we are running out of a couple of broadcasting deals, so we need to look at those. That's in Europe. Viewing figures are in at nearly 6 million for Unleashed now, which is just a little bit ridiculous. We get more views worldwide than the WWF. Right, let's look at our events whilst we're here and see. I want to basically look through the events as to what's got an importance rating of higher than normal. So Hostile Territory hasn't. That's on the chopping block. Collision Course obviously has. King of Combat we're going to keep as it is anyway. Clash of the Titans is on the chopping block. Glory Road isn't. So that kind of goes against the Reloaded name that was suggested for the January show, so maybe we could do that for something else. Ascension's also above average, so through Full Throttle. Is everything going to be above average? No, Legacy isn't. High Voltage is. Doomsday is. Immortals is. Endgames is. Okay, so it's just Legacy, which I actually quite like, and Hostile Territory, which is our next show, that aren't at the level we want them to be. So, maybe there's the current list of names. Any suggestions in the comments, and we'll have a proper look at them going forward. So what we want to do here is we want to shift this Mexican show not on the first Saturday of the month anymore. We want to shift that. We're going to just shift it to, instead of being the 5th, we want it to be the 7th. Let's just do that. And then this one here, when we're in India, we're going to shift this to be the Thursday, I think, the 10th. Save that. Okay, so they're all lined up there. Hostile Territory, we're going to move you to be the first Saturday of the month, and save that one. We'll test it out for Hostile Territory. We'll also set Collision Course to do the same on the Saturday as well, and then there we go. Save that. No, that's shifted it to 1999. We don't want to do that. There we go, 1998 again. Okay, so shifting the next two pay-per-views to Saturdays. We'll see how that works, and we'll do the same for all the rest of them after we've done Hostile Territory. I've basically just done Collision Course in case I forget, because that's more likely than nothing. And then we'll look at the schedule here. So we've got Unleashed on the 28th, and then Unleashed on the 4th, Hostile Territory on the 5th. Then all of these shows aren't broadcast. They're just to try and get some popularity up in Mexico and India. In fact, we might move Redemption and Inferno to the 1st and 2nd just to get that little bit of a run out of the way there. In fact, let's do that right now. So Redemption is our show for Northwest. Is that Noroccidente? I can't remember. We'll just shift that to the 1st, do that, and Inferno is the northwest, so that's northeast. That makes sense. We'll do that on the 2nd. We'll get those out of the way before the last 2 events of the episode. Right, we'll be back with... hang on, let me just double check. Unleashed, and then Unleashed, Hostile Territory, and then Rush doesn't happen again until middle of September, so that's fine. We'll do that. Right, we'll go through to the next week worth of Unleashed. As mentioned, comments in the... Send some comments down below about the pay-per-view names if you want to quickly just take a look. It's these ones that say annual events, so Hostile Territory, Collision Course, Kingdom Combat, Clash of the Titans, Glory Road, Ascension, Full Throttle, Legacy, High Voltage, Doomsday, Immortals, Endgame. Background again. Comments on any of those, let me know. Let's go to the next episode of TV. Okay, back for some more Unleashed, and we're going to continue building towards Hostile Territory, which now is in 8 days rather than 7. So let's get straight into things. Not much has changed in the backstage or pre-show stuff, whatever that's called, the between-week stuff. Anyway, Unleashed 183 is live from the Bryce Jordan Centre. 13,952 in attendance, and we start the show once again with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And Flair announces that obviously he will be facing Davey Boy Smith at Hostile Territory, and he gave Davey a taste of what to expect last week. Now, Flair understands that Davey might be a little bit annoyed at losing the tag team titles, but a shot against the greatest of all time is surely worth that sacrifice. He knows that his old buddy, quote unquote, Kerry Von Erich will think so, and that's why he is getting a match tonight against the Nature Boy. His in-ring debut happens right here tonight. Only gets an 82 for the promo. Improvised well throughout, but slightly worse off than he normally is. Should be okay, though. We get a good, strong start for the show with a Flair promo. It's just like watching my WCW 2000 save. Just start things with a Flair promo, and nothing can go wrong. Excellent. Right, move on to our opening contest, which sees Goliath taking on Ben Basarab in just a bit of a job match. Goliath wins, would you believe? Still hinting at a future face turn, and this is just to get him on the show. 69, a very nice match rating for this one. Moving on, I've got a very sore throat, by the way, so apologies if I have to cough at any point. I'll try and cut them out in the edit afterwards. Right, Mark Merrow and his wife Sable, they're calling out Raven for what he said last week, and Sable makes it clear that there's only one man for her, and that is the man she married. She doesn't lust over anybody else, and certainly not that creep Raven. Merrow then challenges Raven to a match at Hostile Territory and promises that the only thing in Raven's eye will be Merrow's fist. But before that, Merrow is looking to get revenge against Larry Zbyszko for his attack 2 weeks ago. Merrow was very poor without a script. Sable didn't do very well without a script either. And it's a 51, which is a real shame, because both can do better. Merrow can definitely do better as well. We're trying to use Sable a little bit more than we have done in the past, because we barely used her, and our product does not use sex appeal very well at all. Right, speaking of that Merrow-Zbyszko match, Larry Landreamer, after interference from Raven, is enough to give the victory for Zbyszko. 82 for the match rating. This is Zbyszko's first singles match since joining. He gets 72 for his match rating, and Merrow gets 75 for his in-ring performance. Overall, 82, good stuff. So after that Raven interference, we move straight into a World Tag Team title match as the new champions, Samu and Kakina Maximus, the Colossal Tribe, take on El Supremo 2 and El Sagrado. The champions retain with a diving headbutt from Samu. We use a creative finish here, and it is a success, which is excellent. Sagrado is a weak link, but we're trying to get him a little bit more over already. Then, well, losing to the Colossal Tribe is not going to help him that much. But getting him on screen will help him develop. Anyway, one of the young luchadors in the company. We get a 78 rating for the match, and a lot of that is thanks to the tag team champions and that creative finish. Moving on to Flair's in-ring debut, and he gets an 89 with his in-ring performance, so the eventual match with Davey Boy should be an absolute classic. Kerry can only go 10 minutes. I think Flair can only go 13. But we only went 10 minutes anyway because of Kerry's stamina. And would you believe Flair got the victory with the figure 4 leg lock. 84 overall match rating. Good in-ring performance from Flair, and 89. He's not lost it just yet. Kerry down at 60 is not too bad. Crowd loved it. Flair won. Excellent. Move on to our main event kind of angle plus match. White Thunder heads to the ring, and Steiner starts doing push-ups over a microphone. Between his reps, he claims to be a little bit bored, waiting until hostile territory, so he's making an open challenge tonight. Any loser in the back is invited to step up to the plate. Young, old, fat, thin, big, small, don't matter, because Steiner will mow them down and then mow down Ricky Steamboat for the world title in just 8 days. Steiner loved going off script, loved the freedom, gets an 89 for his promo, and we build up to tonight's main event, which sees Scott Steiner, the #1 contender, taking on the debuting Rick Martel. And, well, it's got a red note there, and there's a couple of bad things to look at. But mainly, the main thing you need to look at here is Scott Steiner's in-ring performance of 98. That's just ridiculous. Frankensteiner for Steiner gets the job done. 18 minutes. There was not enough psychology on display here. Could have used someone to construct a better flow to the match. Martel's gimmick gets an awful rating. His in-ring performance of 84 is great. The great chemistry from the pair of them. We get a 91 for the main event. With a bit of a better flow of the match, this one could have been even better. But 91 is a great main event, but we're not done. We are not done because we haven't seen our world champion tonight. And here he is. Ricky Steamboat heads to the ring after the main event, and he congratulates Scott Steiner on a hard-fought victory. White Thunder gets straight in his face, though. Tells the Dragon that Father Time has already kicked his ass. Steiner's here to just finish the job in 8 days. Steamboat can be impressed all he wants. Steiner isn't here to put on a show for the old timers. He's here to win the world title. And the pair stare each other down as Steamboat raises the world title high and Unleashed goes off the air. 89 segment rating. Really tough for me to go through. I had to pause the recording halfway through the show, and I feel like I'm about to cough my head off right now, but an excellent way to end it. 90 rating for the overall show, which is great. A little bit of a wobble early on, but the final 3 segments really pulled it back in basically Scott Steiner show here tonight to end the month of August. Finance-wise, another 800k. Excellent stuff. Popularity. You don't need me to go through it all. It's good. We're going up everywhere we need to be going up. Yeah. Not much more to say there. Not much more I can even say. So we'll leave it here. We'll cut forward to the beginning of September. Do the next TV show and then the pay-per-view the day after rather than the night of. And we'll be back for the next Unleashed. And anything that happens in the week in between, I'll fill you in. But stay tuned. I'm going to go cough right now. Alright, here we are for the go-home show, and we've had a few injuries that we need to make mention of. A couple of them were mentioned during the show, the other one we'll mention afterwards, and then we'll get straight into our pay-per-view tomorrow night. So, go-home show is here, and we're at the Maverick Center, 11,521 in attendance, and we start the show with Ric Flair. And his promo's getting slightly worse week on week. He starts the show, though, and talks about how he is the greatest of all time. Earlier this week, he proved it in Mexico. But the Nature Boy may be technically injured now. But that won't stop him. He's got a bad back, but it won't stop the dirtiest player in the game at hostile territory. Even at less than 100%, Flair is better than every other professional wrestler in the world, including Davey Boy Smith, and he's going to prove it tomorrow night at hostile territory. 80 for his promo is good. Flair can do better though, so hopefully he will do next time we put a mic in front of him. Opening contest isn't great. It sees Dave Finlay and Robbie Brookside defeating Jamie Dundee and Lance Storm. This is basically to give Brookside a nice big televised win before he goes to face Steven Regal tomorrow night for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Iconoclasm gets the job done on Storm, who is Regal's tag team partner. 52 for the match is okay. Basically, that's all it is. Okay. Moving on, we don't need it to be great though, and this one's not great either. Above average team of Joe Kazana and Paul Levesque defeated Van Hammer and Perry Saturn. Levesque using the pedigree on Van Hammer to get the victory here. These 4 men will go to war for the International Championship tomorrow night. Levesque getting the upper hand though as we move forward towards that one. Kazana obviously above average Big Bad Joe is our current international champion. 58, not too bad. I imagine the four-way match is going to be a similar sort of level tomorrow night. We then get joined by the World TV Champion Goldberg, who hits the ring and calls out Scott Hall and Jake Roberts. So you will have hopefully remembered a few minutes ago. They called him out and basically attacked him. He tells them both that if they want to step up, do it at the same time, and they'll take them both out. Hall and Roberts join him and confirm that they will indeed face Goldberg in a handicap match tomorrow night, with one of the former tag team champions definitely leaving hostile territory with the TV title. And Goldberg, well, he's next. 77, Goldberg puts in a great performance, gets called out here for his good performance. Angle gets the crowd hotter. Great stuff. We move on. This one should be, well, it should be a quick, that's for sure. Next up, we have Goliath taking on Kerry Von Erich. Simple match where Goliath once again foreshadows a face turn but continues his winning ways. 79 for the match rating. Goliath got a 75, Kerry got a 60. And again, some more foreshadowing with a face turn. We're going to have to actually turn him face pretty soon. Right, chokeslam gets the job done there. Ticks him over. Then we get RVD back in action against Christian Cage. I think this is this his first singles match since returning? Did he have a singles match on last week? Can't remember. Anyway, great match. Defeats Christian Cage with a Van Daminator. 82 for the match rating. Van Dam puts in a 78. Cage with a 62. Good stuff. Cage is just here to, put on a good performance and do the job. Van Dam will be going on to hostile territory tomorrow night for a big match. But before we get there, we have Mark Merrow heading down to the ring with a microphone in hand. Before, though, he can address Raven and the match at hostile territory, Raven sneaks in from behind and attacks the Marvelous One. He's armed with a steel chair and he wears Merrow out. He wraps the chair around his arm and stomps on it before security and agents pull the maniacal Raven away. The medical team tend to the beaten down Merrow, and Merrow will not make it to hostile territory tomorrow night. He is going to be out injured. 92 rating for the Angle, though, as we write Merrow off TV for a few weeks, months. I don't know how long he's actually injured for. I can show you in a second at the end of the video, but end of the episode of TV. Great stuff anyway. Raven puts in another great performance, as does Merrow. This one's hot. I mean, it's a shame that they're not going to get a match at the pay-per-view, but we'll have to continue doing something with this Raven storyline. Seems a little bit cursed so far. 92. Then we get a great main event. Well, a good main event. Two veterans. Rick Martel? Hang on. I think I've set the wrong person to win here. Never mind. Rick Martel gets a good victory over Larry Zbyszko. Okay, that's building some good momentum for Zbyszko going into his match with RVD tomorrow night. Never mind. Upset victory. 75 rating for the main event. No one complained. Who cares? Good match. Move on. We then get the real main event, and it's the contract signing for tomorrow night's World Heavyweight title match. Ricky Steamboat defending against Scott Steiner. Both men have no issues and sign the contract. The Dragon is looking forward to the challenge, whilst White Thunder is looking past the champion and talking about how he's going to be celebrating the victory all night long. Unsurprisingly, things get heated towards the end, and the two men close the show, brawling in and out and around and all over the place. Order the pay-per-view tomorrow night because we are out of time. It gets a 95. Great angle, great way to finish the show. That brawl at the end gets a 99. Excellent stuff. Steiner improvised well. Steamboat improvised well. Everything was excellent. Closed the show, gets a 79 because the matches weren't quite up to standard. But the angles at the end definitely were. 21 regions getting a boost, 2 regions not quite getting there. Finance-wise, good chunk of money once again for the show. Popularity recap. Not much movements in the US because we aren't quite... 79 is not going to be enough now when we've got all of these regions are 79 or above. Puerto Rico and Hawaii got a nice little boost. Canada gets a nice boost. UK gets a nice boost. And Europe also gets a nice little boost in the respective regions. Right, we will go through... Oh, we've got the loading screens now on the EWR skin as well. So there's some Nitro Girls for you. If you're interested, they look like the Nitro Girls, I think. Pretty sure they're the Nitro Girls. Can't see Kimberly Page, though, so which era of Nitro Girls they are, I'm not sure. Anyway, the EWR skin is great, if you aren't already aware of my thoughts on it. Excellent stuff. Right, well, we'll show you the 3 injuries we've got. One of them happened on our Mexican shows, which was Ric Flair. He's got a bad back, but he could apparently work through it without any issues, so we're going to keep his match tomorrow night. The other 2 happened because we still let our wrestlers wrestle elsewhere. and it's come back to bite us. So Mark Merrow, as you will have already known from that angle, is out injured. And so is Marcus Bagwell. So we'll have a look now at absences and we'll show you the damage, if you can remember to click the right thing. Right, so Merrow is out until November with a broken arm. He can still work angles though, so once we get closer to his return date in a couple of months, we'll start feeding him back into the Raven storyline. Bagwell broke his neck and he's out until August of next year, which is really bad. And Flair has got chronic upper back pain. He's got no effect and he's working through it for the next 45 days. If his match at the pay-per-view tonight is hindered by the fact he's injured, then we'll just have him in some angles and keep him on the back burner for a few weeks until we get through to the November pay-per-view and get him back in. So we'll just basically give him a month off if that's the case. We'll just have him on angles, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on with those. Right, we will quickly look at the news. 7.6 TV rating, 5.7 million. That's great stuff. Super Delphi's off to CMLL. So right, let's just quickly show you. If we order by size, the WWF. Let's have a look at their show history. And I'll show you how many people view their show. So Superstars of Wrestling gets 3.5 million, bigger than that. Wrestling Challenge gets, no, it's not been broadcast yet, so Wrestling Challenge here, 300,000, nothing. Primetime, 500,000, nothing. SummerSlam only gets 3 million for pay-per-view. So what's our last pay-per-view compared to that? We're on this page, we might as well. So Endgame. Endgame got 1.5 million buys, total viewers 3. Is that right? So we've got 3.1 million total viewers. Let me just make sure I've checked the right. I'm comparing the right number here. So where's SummerSlam? Total. Oh no, total viewers 4.4. Okay, so they're still getting more viewers on their pay-per-views, but we're getting better TV ratings, and our shows are generally better. I did have the battle, but last month it was done purely on the star quality or whatever the one is. So if you go onto this page, the area battles, this one, it's all about star quality. I've now done it so it's a combined score of best show and star power points. So we should be a little bit closer next time around, but we have got some wrestlers with some good overness and star quality that's going to help out against the WWF. Anyway, right, we're going to do our pay-per-view now and hopefully get a massive rating for it, as we've got Steamboat and Steiner in the main event. The match we've all been waiting for, coming right up. Okay, and we are finally here at the Miami Arena for Hostile Territory, our September pay-per-view. And this time last year, it was Mark Merrow defeating RVD to become the World Heavyweight Champion. A long time ago, that, it feels like now. Raven defeated Terry Funk 2 years ago to retain the title. RVD and Dean Malenko were victorious in the main event against Edge and Christian. Before that, Jeff Jarrett defeated Tommy Dreamer in 1994 in the main event for the world title. Raven defeated Stevie Ray, both men still on the roster, 1993. 1992, the first ever Hostile Territory saw Jeff Jarrett defeating Crash the Terminator to retain the world title before it was even the real world title, and that's obviously Bill DeMott, by the way, the Crash the Terminator. Right, it's time. 1998's edition of Hostile Territory. We have got quite a few good matches on deck tonight, and one match that's not happening through injury that I forgot to take off the pre-booked matches, so we'll have to move that to when he's back. Right, let's go into it. We have 12,977 people in attendance. I'm still not quite sure where our attendance has gone for events. They seem to just have disappeared. We were getting in the mid-20s, and now it seems to be halved. But never mind. Pre-show match: Kerry Von Erich, Rick Martel, Dusty Rhodes defeated Christian Cage, Terry Funk, and Jim Neidhart. Dusty with a bionic elbow on Neidhart got the victory. Rick Martel, head and shoulders above everyone else, with a nice 76 performance for this one in the pre-show. Gets a 71 crowd. Well, that's just what you'd get for the crowd. Pre-show, good stuff. Moving on to tonight's main attraction. Obviously, it has become tradition. Ric Flair starts the show with a promo, and again, he seems to be getting slowly worse at his promos. This was down to 76. TV the day before was 80. Anyway, he calls tonight the biggest pay-per-view in Piledriver Wrestling history, as it will be the pay-per-view debut of the Nature Boy, the dirtiest player in the game, the greatest of all time. Flair tells Davey Boy Smith that it doesn't matter how good he is, because Flair is better, and the whole world already knows it. Flair walks off wooing to himself, as we start the show. Good stuff there. Opening contest is an absolute cracker, actually. It's a British wrestling classic as Steven Regal defeats Robbie Brookside with the Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line. This one was built up a little bit on Rush, our B show. I'm not sure if we actually went through the results of Rush from the last set of TV tapings, but anyway, Robbie Brookside earned himself a title shot, and this was it. Regal puts in an 80 in-ring performance. Brookside only a 48, but that is mainly driven by his lack of popularity. 77 overall, though, is absolutely excellent. It should hopefully help both guys get a nice boost. Move on to another title match, and it's the International Championship as Joe Kazana defends against tag team partner Paul Levesque, Perry Saturn, and Van Hammer. Van Hammer, the weak link here. Kazana at 62, Saturn at 61, Levesque at 51. 65 overall is okay for the bottom tier mid-card title, the lower of the two mid-card titles so far anyway, because big bad above average Joe Kazana is an international superstar. 65, not bad. Moving swiftly on to the tag team title match between the Colossal Tribe and the Hardy Brothers. The Hardys once again getting a shot at the tag titles, and this one ends with a double count out as both teams brawl all around the ring and the arena, and we have to end it there. We're going to have maybe a cage match or something for the tag team titles next month. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But this one was another good one. We just threw the two teams together because we knew they'd have a good match. Hardys talked about a title shot on Rush, and they've got it here. 74 rating for the match to keep this little angle for the two tag teams moving towards next month. Okay, Goldberg then faces off against Scott Hall and Jake Roberts, and he defeats the pair of them in a handicap match. He makes his 16th defense of the World TV title. Creative finish was a failure, but still, it was okay. Jake Roberts with a 73, despite only being able to go 6 minutes. Scott Hall with a 64, despite only being able to go 6 minutes. And Goldberg with a 65. He could have gone longer, but you can only face the people in the ring. 70 overall, not bad. Just keep getting Goldberg wins. That's all I'll say. Moving on. Oh, this one was a good one. RVD against Larry Zbyszko, and Larry was losing a bit of momentum, having lost to Rick Martel last night, and he loses again here to RVD. Obviously, he's a veteran. He's going to be used to put people over, and he does just that. 74 for Larry, 80 for RVD. Overall, we get a match rating of an 85 for this one. Great match between the pair of them as we start to heat things up towards the top of the card. Great match here. Moving on to an angle, because Raven drags Sable out to the ring and asks her where Envy has gone, obviously meaning Mark Merrow, who was envious over Raven and the lust in Sable's eyes. Yeah, he can see lust, but it looks like Envy's already been dealt with last night. Sable stands up to Raven though and tells him that he can play all these mind games, but he's not a real man like her husband. And once Merrow comes back from his injury, Raven's going to know all about it. Obviously, Merrow isn't here tonight, so Sable is all alone with Raven. And that is until Goliath hits the ring, and the Giant gets in Raven's face and asks him how it feels like when someone twice his size screams in his face. Raven feigns backing down, but tries a cheap shot, only for Goliath to clothesline him over the top rope. Sable was a little bit weak here. The other two guys, though, much better. And we're going to turn Goliath into a face. And are we ready to do it? He's better as a heel. He's been built up a 6 segment. Is that enough? Who knows? We'll try it. Turn. Complete success. Excellent. Sable was a little bit poor trying to improvise a dialogue. Brought down the first part of the angle a little bit, but still a 79 overall. And we somehow managed to transition from Merrow to Goliath. So, playing it by ear, we're going to think of another deadly sin that Goliath can be. Maybe Wrath. Maybe that's what we'll do. Right, moving on to our co-main event. And unfortunately, Ric Flair's injury took a big toll and the creative finish was a failure. But he still got the job done in just over 12.5 minutes with a figure 4 leg lock. Flair gets his first pay-per-view victory. We are going to put him on the back burner because I wasn't sure whether this injury was going to take a big toll or not. It has done, so you are going on the shelf now, Flair. You can cut your promos, but you can't wrestle, clearly. Still, 74 for an injured Ric Flair is good. Davey Boy gets a nice 69. Obviously, both men hampered by the creative finish. Obviously, that injury taking a big old chunk of what would have been Flair's performance down. I imagine he's probably going to be close to 90, if not at 90. And Davey Boy's normally in the mid-70s, so it's a little bit disappointing, but still okay. 74. Move on. Promo time. Well, video time for the main event. We hype up that main event with a video package showing how Ricky Steamboat rose to become world champion through the Power Driver Grand Prix and eventually overcoming Goliath, and how Scott Steiner has absolutely dominated so far in SPW, and how he believes he is the uncrowned world champion, and so do many others, because he never lost the WCW title before jumping ship. The Dragon and White Thunder collide next. Now the video gets to 76, and I'll be honest, if anything lower than like 93 comes out of this main event match, it's going to be a disappointment. This needs to be sort of 96, 97, best match in company history kind of levels. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing, because they both are very capable. Right, moment of truth. It gets an 88. They don't. They have poor chemistry. Wow. Okay, Scott Steiner defeats Ricky Steamboat. We've got another new world champion. Frankensteiner does it just under 20 minutes. Scott Steiner's your new world champ. And, wow. The chemistry has really done a number on this one. I imagine that's taken a good 6 or 7 points off the match rating and the in-ring performance. Oh, what another way to end the show with a poor main event. I say poor, it still gets an 80. It's still an 88 and it's still the match of the night. But wow, that could have and should have been so much bigger and better. We only increased in 24 regions and 84 overall for the show. That's a real disappointment. So gutted. I mean, it's probably still better than SummerSlam, but right. We'll give praise to Ricky Steamboat and Scott Steiner, even though the chemistry really worked against them. Hang on, I've gone too far. We don't have to rip into Scott Steiner there. Steven Regal also put in a great performance. We'll give him his props. And was there anyone else we wanted to RVD? RVD did well as well. So, good performance. Excellent, make that speech. Everyone's going to be happy about it. Very happy in Steamboat's case. Good. Finance-wise, made a lot of money. We nearly made the point where we're in the green again now. But half of that will get taxed, and half of it will just disappear and miss costs by the end of the month anyway. Popularity recap, up to 78 in the Northwest. I mean, there's plenty of movement elsewhere around the world. We've got a couple up in Northern England, a couple up in Ireland and Southern England. Like, we're okay everywhere, but that's real. 79 now in Japan. We're pretty much as big in Japan as we are in the US. But so disappointing. So disappointing again with the main event really not quite being it. So gutted. So gutted. Another case of the main event being built up in my head and not quite making it to where it needs to be. Never mind, we will move on. Scott Steiner's got plenty of opponents he could be facing over the next few months. We'll just avoid Ricky Steamboat and Scott Steiner. We built it up, we kept them apart for so long, and the idea of having the rematch as the Collision Course main event, the season finale main event, was right there. But we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. We cannot have Steamboat and Steiner at Collision Course because we're not having a bad chemistry main event or show of the year. See, if Flair wasn't injured, we'd transition Steamboat into a Flair match. That would be excellent. But it's not going to happen. We have turned RVD face and given him a win, so maybe he will be the first challenger for Scott Steiner. But we'll move on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, actually, because we're pretty much at the point of me releasing the video is when we're recording the video. So, you know, your comments will be pretty early on into me recording the next episode. So let me know your thoughts on who should be the first challenger for Scott Steiner's new world title. Hostile Territory's importance has improved. We've got 1.4 million buys on pay-per-view. Another 1.6, or just under 1.6 for 2.986 million viewers overall. Let's just quickly check what SummerSlam did. I know it was last month's pay-per-view, just because it was most recent. SummerSlam got an 82. Okay, so we're still better than SummerSlam. That's fine. What about WCW's latest offering? I can't remember what their last pay-per-view would have been. Road Wild, where was that? 71. That had Jack Rougeau defeating Ultimate Warrior to retain the WCW Heavyweight Championship. Okay, fine. Alright, excellent. Let's quickly have a look at our championship situation. The International Championship is still held by inaugural champion Joe Kazana. Heavyweight champion is now Scott Steiner. Junior heavyweight champion Steven Regal. Tag champs Kokina, Maximus and Samu. TV champion Bill Goldberg. 128 days, the 2 longest reigns. And that is that. We will leave it there. Thank you once again for watching. It's been a good episode. A little bit disappointing at the end, but still good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you check out the rest of the videos in the playlist. Like the video, subscribe, check out Patreon. These awesome folks whose names you're going to see on the screen in a second, they're members over on the Patreon page. Go check that out. If you want to download the booking generator spreadsheet that we use for WCW 2000, that's available for free on the Patreon. Go check that out. And check out all the videos here on the channel as well. Click some links in a second, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks once again. I've been Anders. Goodbye.